There, see you guys online. Be with you in just 1 second. Looks like we're a couple more people coming in. People. Looks like I gotta say, yeah, are you all with me online? Cameron, Tina?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, so I saw the results from the test, and looked pretty painful. Looked pretty painful for everybody. Kind of exceptionally so. The materials, some of the questions, I was a little surprised that we're missing them, but I guess there's probably reasons. And so I first off wanted to try to unpack that a little bit to try to figure out what was amiss, so we can, so you can adjust, so I can adjust. We're in a kind of a dance here, right? A little bit of a dance. Sorry. Yeah. So today, what I'm going to do is I'll show you how to look and see what you got wrong. We'll walk over the exam. I was going to jump into a new material. I thought that test was going to go a lot better and we could just jump ahead. But with the performance on it, I think the average was in the mid-50s. So what I'm going to do in this kind of a case, when the whole class seemed like we weren't quite making the mark. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a second test. I'm going to average your 2 scores. I mean, can't come off getting you can't turn an F into an A. You can turn it into a high C or something. And if it's a high C, I tell you, that won't stop you from getting an A in the course. But at the same time, people who really had a hard time with it, even if you missed it, I mean, you could come back and get a B and then get an F. When actually an F on a test, that's a hell of a lot better than a 0. A lot of people aren't quite getting that point. And I saw some people miss some things, and they don't understand that actually when you start throwing zeros into the mix of your averages, that your averages all become impossible to fix at a very, very quick pace. So there'll be a chance for people, I guess, if they miss it, they come and get an F, and that'll help them so that they can at least still pass the course. And I guess if somebody didn't do well, you can still get an A with a C in this. So on this exam, it's critical material. So let's dive into it. First off, what I'm going to do, I'm going to start off. Like I said, I'm going to push back our jumping ahead today, and we're going to do kind of review and figure things out. The first thing I'm going to do is show you how to find your results online. So if you have your computers, you might go to Pearson right now. I'm gonna share my screen with everybody on Zoom, so you all can see where we're at. And I'm gonna go to Zoom, not Zoom. It's morning. Pardon me. I'm gonna go to Pearson. Oh my God. Yeah, go take a look. Again. Okay, now I believe go to assignments, maybe was it, or was it? I'm getting a little bit myself, so just bear with me a second here. Okay, so results, right there. If you go to Pearson, I want everyone to do this, okay? I want everybody in the class to go to Pearson, my lab. Give me a hands up when you get there. So are you all gentlemen back? You there? So go to results. And then Pearson has kind of a funky thing about the results. Okay, so just to let you know, what you should do is click on not just past month, but go entire course to date. You see, I haven't done anything. So I mean, on my, but can you, that doesn't work? Huh? No, I haven't done any of the assignments. I know. I created them all though. That means I had to. I'll do them today for you. So I'm gonna walk around and just make sure I can see that you're here. Pull the results of this test. Go back on my screen. Oh, you kind of did that. Oh, yeah. So when you go to results on test, and then there's like a 3-line bar on the left. If you hover over that, it shows different questions. You all see that? I'll get it. Yeah, so first things first is like what I'm trying to do first off is just make sure that that everybody knows how to find out what questions to miss. And this will be a valuable tool for everybody for when you do your homework assignments also. What I'd like you to do is always reflect. You know, your fastest kind of like, there's like a learning cycle. I'm not sure if you're aware, but like, you know, learning is like, you know, you're trying something new. If you try something new, you're guaranteed some level of failure all the time. That's just guaranteed about new things. And then as far as how learning goes, is it's always a reflection. What did I miss? If you miss something, take it serious. Like your learning will be very much a lot easier for you and a lot quicker. You'll get a lot better results if you reflect back, you look at what you missed, and then you figure out how could I have answered it? And you go through why did I miss it, right? So this part of the learning process, what I'm saying, is critical for you in order for you to do well. Okay, it's a necessary component to your education. Something I'm doing all the time too, even as a teacher. I'm reflecting what's working, what's not. We keep reflecting, right? Keep sharpening, constant improvement. Okay. So I was just showing people how to look at the results. So you want to go to Pearson and go to results, click on entire course to date, and then find your chapter exams and other things, and you can actually see what you missed. So, and just for people who come in late, I was just going to say that I'm going to open this, everyone, the medium, the average score was about an F. So I'm opening this thing back up and you can, well, average your two grades. That's what we're going to do on this. But so with all that said, now what I'd like to do is look back at the individual questions and go over the ones that people missed a lot. Come on. Okay, so let's look at this. The average is 56. Some of these I was a little bit surprised. So like this one, 22 people in the class missed it. So how to calculate real GDP in 2017. You don't read that back there? Well, so what, so someone tell me, how do I calculate this? You go ahead. Which price? Oh, of 2017? Which, that would be nominal GDP in 2017. Okay. Yeah, the idea is to use the prices from the base year and the quantities in the year that you're trying to measure. Okay, we're all there? You just multiply the quantity and price in 17, what you're calculating is nominal GDP. Real GDP will use the base year prices and times the quantities. Does that make sense? That's a, yeah. Yeah, 2009 prices, because that's, and it says base year, so 2009 prices times 2017 quantities. And this again is a textbook, not real life, but a textbook example as to what we would ideally like to measure. We don't have this kind of data, just to put it in your mind. Okay, but ideally what we'd like to have is we'd like to have, you know, a pure measure of prices and quantities just like this. We don't have that. Remember, what do we have? We typically have this price index, right? We don't have the individual product prices. So we have an imperfect measure of price, is what we actually have on the macro level. Okay. Good idea. Keep that note in mind too, because you can start to think about where some of the price adjustments that we make might actually be a little imperfect. Okay, real and nominal. This one again, I think it's a similar concept. People miss this. Let's see. Okay, two goods. Apple Pies and video games. Here we go. We got the base here. It's the same problem, and we have nominal GDP in year 2 and real GDP. Okay. So y'all can calculate this now, right? Nominal GDP in year 2, just prices and quantities, boom, 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 add them up. Real GDP, quantities, times the price in the base year. Right? I'll show completed in case there's other ones down there. Nope, that's it. It's just that, okay? This is just nominal, multiplying it in the current year prices and quantities, and real is the quantities in the year times the base year prices. It's just like that. Same question, basically. Not surprising, I guess, that people missed that about the same. Okay. 19 people missed this problem. Okay, you have following goods, hamburgers, okay, all cottons used in the production of shirts. Let's calculate nominal GDP in 2019. I'm a little bit surprised that we missed this one so much. What's the only catch here? Yeah, we're not going to count cotton, right? We don't count cotton. It's just calculate nominal GDP, except don't include cotton. If you can enter it, basically, because that's an intermediate good, we're counting all final goods production. Right? Are we all good? Someone tell me if we're not good. There's a bunch of people missed it. I don't know if they're the people who aren't here. I got that problem too. I got 2, 4, 6. Well, I mean, I got a good chunk of this class, a good 8 people or so are not here today. So that, I don't know if I'm preaching to the choir now about calculating these things, or if maybe the people I need to be talking to aren't here. Maybe that's my fault. I don't know. Tell me what's going on. Y'all got this one right? Yeah. You guys tell me if I start preaching to the choir, okay? Just tell me, shut up, Matt. We all already know that. You just tell me, okay? I want us to kind of click through stuff quick. So this one right here. Okay, so nominal, you see, it's just basically putting it into a different tabular form. But you see that nominal is always just the price times the quantity for that given year will always give you nominal, okay? Now to get real GDP, and again, this is a textbook example, but real GDP, you're going to use the quantity in the year you're talking about times the prices in the base year. So it would be 156 and some change times $1.50. You see? 900 times 45. You add those up to get real. Huh? Oh, but your first one might be different than other people's first. Yeah, so if you want to look, see how it says over here, like end of chapter 1.1 algorithm. That's how I can, if you tell me that portion of what your question you're looking at, then I can find it. That makes sense? Like your first might be different than somebody else's first question. Actually, the order of all the questions were jumbled up for everybody. If you have so if you have a specific question, I'm not sure. Do you see question ID? Let me see what you're looking at. I'll help you. Bill. I'll try to find CPI1. Concept CPI1 right here. A lot of people miss this one too. That's it. Okay, so you see that how you can tell me which one you missed is you look up here, not the question number, but after that, concept CPI1. That's how I found it. Okay, so this is, okay, basket of consumer goods, you got pizza, t-shirt, and rent. Table shows basket prices. Okay, year one, following year, okay. So you remember how to calculate the CPI? You got the price of the basket, right? In the year divided by the price of that basket in the base year. Is that right? So you got to calculate the price of the basket. So the CPI in year one is the base year, right? What's the CPI going to be? 100. Is that right? Well, I don't know. Yours might have been different. So your question also might have been different. Right? Question. So your one might be different. So if you got the wrong answer, you'll probably see the correct answer actually in the box, right? Second year, yeah. So so the price. So you got to calculate the. Let me try to share my. I try to share the. Make sure that my video's on for the people here online. So where is this thing? I'm gonna do my video real quick so you can see. So here we get. So we're looking at CPI 1. So in the base year it's 100, but what we have to do is it's the. I'm going to look at the basket price in whatever the year is divided by the basket price in the base year times by 100. Okay. So so what's the price of the basket in the base year? Price of the basket in the basket price in the base year is just going to be equal to what's this equal to? So we're telling it's 25 times that's the quantity. So the basket has quantities of 25, 2, and 1, and the prices are so 25 pizzas at $2.50, 2 t-shirts at $20, and we have 1 rent at $3.50. Okay, and then the basket price in year T is equal to, again, it's the same quantities. The quantities, the basket doesn't change in quantities, it just changes in prices. How much does it cost is what we're asking. Here it's 3.13. There it's 18, and then rent went up to 385. So yeah, you multiply these together, right? And then you add everything up in the column. Is that all right? Is it okay if I skip the addition and so just skip the math as far as like actually multiplying and adding? I'm just multiplying these across and then adding it up. This is the basket price in time T, which is in year 2. Same thing, calculate the basket, and then I just basket price at time T divided by the basket price in the base year times 100. Year 1 is the base year, right? So whatever, it doesn't matter, whatever the basket price, look, the basket price in the base year. So the CPI would be the basket price at time T, the time is the base year, divided by the basket price in the base year. This equals 1. Right? Doesn't matter what the price of the basket is, it's always equal 1, right? Are we good on this? Are we good? Good all around? All around good? Okay. Okay, so got that out of the way. Let me look up and see if I missed this one here. This comes from definitions, and I try to jump up and down. If you see me in class, like telling you, like you need to have this on your cheat sheet, this will be on the exam. Those are things that you need to note somewhere if you're on your notes. Because I tried to be real explicit about, like, you know, you need to know these equations, right? From remember the labor market slides? I said, make sure you have, you know, these set of equations. This is just from a definition. Unemployment rate. Gotta know how to calculate the unemployment rate. What is it? So unemployed divided by the labor force. Is that right? So what's the labor force? Yeah, what's the labor force? Yeah, that's right. And you got to know. Another thing I said is I said have that tree. Remember, that tree is going to help you. Like that picture of that unemployment tree, or of all the different types of employment. They're on the slides that are posted. Labor force is unemployed plus employed. That's 316 million. So this answer would be unemployed. This is 16 over 316. I'm sorry, I need to share my screen back with the folks on Zoom. I'm talking about something that's not making sense. There's a chance it's because I'm not sharing my screen. Just pipe up if that happens. We have employed and unemployed. 316 is the labor force, so it's unemployed is 16 divided by 316. I'll just show all of them in case they change. And you see every time that we do Pearson, they're going to change the numbers for you guys a little bit. You go ahead.
Well, I mean, kind of tripped me up, then I realized later that that's what I needed to do, but I couldn't get that. That's how.
Yeah, that's a. Yeah, I know.
I don't know if that's just something you like to do.
It's a, well, so here's the thing. It's a trade-off because we're doing these tests remotely, right? So, so it's just it's a thing. It's a feature that's made so that students have a harder time sharing answers. You know, so everyone's tests are all jumbled up. You go in order. You can't go back. You know, then it's like you can't work on it together as easy, right? Because even if you're side by side, you'll be probably at different questions, and then you know it doesn't work. That's why it's like that. It's because these are remote. So it's I saw a hand pop up. You could go back on your. Really? Okay. Well, that needs to get disabled. Shouldn't be able to go back. Well, there you go. It's I guess it's and I know these are all different softwares and things. I want to let y'all know too that I'm working towards trying to get my next iteration of this course, going to try to get more of this material on Wolf Den, but I've got just a mountain of a job to get all this stuff in. What I'd like to do is actually get this. I mean, it's not going to benefit you guys, but get this on Wolf Den, and then just have like a $5 textbook. You know, that's what I'd like to get. But then also, you know, you got to understand, like I'm developing this course, and what I find is like as a top priority is that I give you guys a real economic glimpse into what's actually happening out there in the world. So that's why I'm putting a lot of the effort on my course development this semester is in building up your projects, giving you other glimpses of things to give you some realistic stuff. Because actually, I'll tell you what, as an economist, I've always been super dissatisfied with economic curriculum in higher education. I'm not satisfied with it, so I'm trying to do something about it. I feel like a lot of it, if I were to follow the textbook, it's like a bunch of models, a bunch of theoretical stuff, and people come out of there knowing how to draw some graphs and not knowing a dang thing about real macroeconomics. Which is a shame, because this class is actually fundamental for you to understand the world that you live in. It's fundamental. Okay, what's going on in Ukraine right now? What's going on in Russia, the Russian economy? Yeah, well, that's what I was hoping we'd talk about a little today, but we'll get to that. Russian economy is reeling right now. Some interesting stuff. I'd like us to be there, actually. I'd like us to be. Percentage change, okay, another one. Let's go through this. Yay, your boss gave you a raise. Okay, so see the wages? You see the CPI? So what's the percentage change in your wage? Show these things, we'll show you how to calculate them. Here. Put it in your calculator. Percentage change in your wage. You guys should know how to calculate that. We did projects and everything else. We did percentage change and everything. Come on. What is it? You guys just spit this out of your like soul by now, right? Yeah, 1650 divided by minus 1500 divided by 1500, right? Times 100 for the Pearson way. That's the percentage change in your wage. Another way to look at it, I mean, like, look, this went up 150. That was 1500. So 650, that's 150 on top, right? Divided by 1500, this is obviously 10%. It's right there. It's just this this percentage change formula. It's just going to be a variable of at time t minus that whatever that variable is at t minus 1 over the variable at t minus 1. This is just a percentage change formula. So it's ask the percentage change in your wage. Yeah, I guess they're talking about your nominal wage there, right? Well, real you could calculate your real wage and then calculate the percentage change in that. That's one way. It's probably the most just to keep it straight. There's a couple ways, but that's probably an easy way. So let's do this a couple ways. Let's go ahead. So this we can all agree this is 10%. That's how much your nominal wage went up. 150 over 1500. Now, now to calculate your real wage. So one way I could do is I could do my real wage. My real wage. How would I get my real wage from my nominal wage? Y'all know? That's what I was hoping these projects would help you figure these things out because you guys did it. You guys did stuff. The real wage, in some ways, the real wage when we have a nominal and we have a deflator. Okay, so let me just show you the most direct way to go from nominal terms to real terms using a price deflator. Is you have a real, so you have a nominal. I'll just go nominal, some nominal term, whatever it is, GDP, wage, whatever, right? And no, just nominal in terms of levels. So here we have nominal. We have 1,512, and we have 1,650, right? Right. And then you have some sort of a deflator, some sort of a price deflator. In this case, we have CPI, which is appropriate for wages. We would not use GDP deflator in this case. Okay. And so the best way to translate over to a real terms from nominal to real using a deflator is just move the decimal 2 places over. Get out of Pearson land, okay? Okay? And then just divide. just that simple. So what's 150 divided by, what's 1500 divided by 110? Someone got a calculator? Someone calculate this and tell me. Y'all have calculators? Calculators like a thing of the past, or? This course, I just get a calculator. 13.64? Oh, 13.
Oh, wait, oh, I'm sorry.
1364. Is that right? And what about this other one down here? 16. $14. 6. Okay. Now let's play the same game we did before. Now what's the percentage change here? 1428.6 minus 1364 over 13. So someone calculate that. I also want to just see what's the percentage change in the price. Just another person calculate this. 115. We'll calculate that. I just want to see what was the inflation rate. The inflation rate's the change in the CPI. I just calculate both of these. This will be our answer over here. Though. We got real. We did the percentage change in the real. 4.8. That's what we got right here, right? Answer 4.8. Now, someone just for a thought experiment, let's calculate the inflation rate. So wages went up by 10%. What was the inflation rate? Inflation rate. I'm giving you extra questions to help you. This is practice for you all. Okay. What's the inflation rate? The inflation rate is the change in the CPI. Percentage change in the CPI is the inflation rate. So that's what we're calculating on our project, right? We got the deflator, which is like a different type of a price index. We're calculating the percentage change in that thing. We're interpreting that as inflation, right? So what's this? Just a straight 5, no decimal? 0.00. This is a 0.05 and nothing else? Nothing else? All right. Nothing else? Gotta double check that. It's gonna be 1 1 1 1 1 5 5. There you go, right. Sorry to question there. Just when I looked at it, I was like, okay. For some reason I'm looking at that. Oh, I got it. Yeah. I'm looking at it, the numbers weren't in my head, and then I just realized I was looking at it wrong. That's why. I can only look at that stuff to gauge it, but in the morning before my coffee. So it's kind of interesting though. You see that the percentage increase in the real wage was 4.8. You see how to calculate that? You see how to calculate inflation rate? An extra bonus out of it? Okay. Okay, so we have that. We did the CPI metric. Nominal interest rate, real interest rate, good chunk missed this. Let me just ask. How many people missed this one? Anybody? I'm gonna skip it then. I think maybe it's just people who aren't here. Real interest rate, just nominal interest rate minus the inflation rate. We talked about that, right? We're just gonna come to class. Okay, so now we get down to my created questions that were based on the readings of things. And I tried, I don't know if you saw in those readings that in the instructions, I put questions. Did I not? A lot of these questions are pretty much directly from there. That's how I did this. I'm trying not to throw too many curveballs. I threw a couple in there. I threw a couple, just a couple curveballs to see if people were gonna, how people would get it or not, but most of it is not. Okay. So dual mandate. Actually, if you look up that reading, so if I look up, what was it? The great. Just want to show you something. This is the reading I was asking you to all do. That had a lot of these questions in there. I think dual mandate was even. One thing you can do is find it. Dual mandate, yeah, it's actually got a link on it. You promote goals of maximum employment, price stability. It says right there. See, what I'm showing you right now is that in those readings, when I, if there are, and I said you might have to go click, I was trying to like also say you might have to go one step further if you don't see a term. And I give you a question that says dual mandate, and then there's a link right there. So that means go one step, I'm telling you, go one step further in all those directions. Dual mandate is really just about price stability. So you want to have prices should be stable. And we want to have relatively, just sort of like I say, reasonable levels of unemployment. Okay. Nothing about trade surplus. Nothing about, we don't want to have just, prices to be low. So we have, here we have grow the economy and maintain reasonable unemployment levels. Well, actually, no, remember it's price stability, right? Price stability and modest unemployment is the one that makes most sense. Great inflation. I'm just pulling these straight from the article questions. So what did the government do to battle the crisis in the great inflation? So you'd have to get by reading the article. And also by watching that video from Ben Bernanke that I put out there. So I try to give it to you in a video form. I try to give it to you in reading form. And if you do both, hopefully. So the government, they tried to do price controls. They were squarely focused on unemployment at the time because of the prior history and the experience in the Great Depression with mass unemployment. There was this sort of sentiment out there that unemployment was the primary target, and they were pursuing unemployment at all costs by stimulating the economy, by pushing it and pumping it and pumping it and pumping it. to try to get that unemployment down, right? They're just chasing unemployment, which again was inflationary. Price controls, those didn't work. Price controls, examples, you know, the Bernanke talked about that. We don't talk about it here as much, but we're going to get into this idea. I want you all to get an idea about something real quick, about this idea of economic equilibriums, and we're going to get there. But the market has a natural place where, you know, if we don't intervene, it wants to go. The market resolves in an equilibrium sort of a state, which, and I want us all to, this is a big picture, but this is something that's you're gonna need this later, okay? This idea, this concept is that the economy is drawn to a space. It's drawn to a certain level of production. Prices have an equilibrium. Quantities have an equilibrium. An equilibrium, you can think about it. You can think about it almost like a magnet. Like there's a target that the economy wants to go to, and the forces in the economy. We'll get into this in more detail how this might go. Maybe it's more microeconomics, but there's a pull towards that equilibrium. And so when you distort an economy, and you pull an economy out of that equilibrium, so say the prices want to be up high at this level, and you do price control, you hold it down. Actually, what happens is when there's this pressure to go to that space. And so as soon as you let go of those controls, there's going to be corrections and swings back. Just those are not strategies that proved effective at all. It's kind of price controls. I think Ben Bernanke talked about it like a spring, like you're holding a spring back and then you let it go, and it's like it goes back to where it wanted to go. Okay, encouraging thrift, that was out of the article. That's just all straight from the reading. Okay, causes. Give me honest reflection. How many people have read that dual mandate? How many people did it? They had reading? Okay. Only had reading. Okay, I guess one thing we should look at real quick. I just want to look at Wolf then and make sure that we are on here real quick. Just to make sure that I posted stuff. So academics, I list the classes. The big list is here, right? Okay, so coursework, GDP, inflation. So I had this reading here, which even though it's closed and done, I think you can still view it. Because the bulk of what I put in there is actually, it's in the instructions. Oh, look, there's a lot of questions from your exam right there. See that? So let's do this, okay? How about I don't go over all those right now? What I'd like you to do, because this article, I'm going to tell you, this article, it's a time that we're going to return to this article when we learn about I'm going to give you one economic model is all in this class. Just one theoretical model. It'll be a workhorse model that we'll use. And then we'll use that model to look at different sort of economic events. And we're going to come back to this point in time with our model in hand and actually model what was going on at the time with our model, and say, and then try to fit what happened historically into our model, and how does it make sense? What would the model predict would happen, right? So here's the point. You didn't read this, go back and read it and answer those questions. Okay? The questions are listed there, the readings listed there. read it and answer the question. So I won't cover those, the rest of it in class, okay? Is that all right? I think it'd be doing you actually a disservice if that's at this point. You haven't done the reading. Yeah, that one, I thought about that one a little bit too. 'Cause actually there's, and I might even make an alternative option available for, I was thinking about that. So there's this one, which is something we showed in class and talked about. This one here. This one. Parents in economics. Yeah, and so mhm. Yeah, so we have wage growth. So wage growth did not keep pace with inflation in the 70s. We have low interest rates in the 70s caused low, were there low interest rates in the 70s? What was the history of the interest rates? Extremely high in the 70s, right? Economic growth of the 70s drew more people to work. Was the economy growing in the 70s? That's extremely high. No, it didn't have a big boost then, right? They were battling different things in the 70s. Trade deficits in the 70s resulted in a need for more workers. Were there big trade deficits in the 70s? We didn't even talk about trade, right? But no, actually, there weren't big deficits that we were talking about there. And if you think about the think about a trade deficit, we didn't talk about what a trade deficit is, but it means you're importing more than you're exporting. So actually, that would be a negative on GDP, which would not be consistent with that pattern either. But we didn't even talk about trade deficits. I threw it out there as a catch that, you know. So that's how you could do this one by elimination in that way, right? I found different numbers though. These look more official than the Google search I did, because Google search said 2.3% are these single stay-at-home parents. This one actually has married parents, one full-time worker, married parents, one full-time, one part-time. And you have this black line, which is two full-time workers. You see 2 full-time workers are increasing. And the married parents with only one full-time worker are falling. Right. Those are the big trends. 2-income households. It's interesting too, because when we look at real wages, and this is where we can think about price distortions and how we actually account for those. So when we look at real wages historically, this was something I thought was interesting. So here's actually some measures of hourly wages from 1960s to 2018. Okay. And my statement was that you had a drop in some real wage. Here, actually, you see in the 1970s, there was in fact a drop in real wage. You see that? From 25 down to like 19. But this actually shows that there's a wage contraction. Because remember, we have the nominal wage, right? And then you have actually a real adjustment up here. So this would be like the real wage. I mean, back in '64, they're making $2.50, but that was worth $20, right? So you have to adjust for prices. $2.50. That's not. You see the nominal wage is just growing. When I account for inflation, you see that real wages actually were falling, And I'll also say that it really depends on the deflator you use. So in this kind of a case, when we look at like what was happening with real wages, now you have to really think about, we consume the same thing that we did even back then. There's a lot of changes even to the CPI. Is the CPI an appropriate measure? Does it capture, say, the different demographics, right? So we can actually get a lot more detail. We can think that there could be like factory workers, there could be people working in different industries, maybe people in different industries. We already saw that there's different growth across different industries. So it makes a lot of sense that actually wages are also not performing in the same way, right? So when we get kind of down into the more micro side of things, I think we can start to appreciate that certain segments might actually have seen a real wage decline and other segments see a real wage increase. And it gets to be not so clear, but you start to see that which groups are experiencing the real wage declines, and it starts to become a lot more meaningful. I think these big macroeconomic graphs, I'm just going to say macroeconomics, it gives you some big overlying trends and some big ideas. But if you really want to get down and understand what's really happening, you got to dig down into industry level. Okay, now get down to the regional industry level. Now get down to the person if you can. And start doing statistics on individuals, the micro. To me, that's the interesting part. You guys all went to sleep on me on that. But get that. So I tell you that there's a lot more. It's just like a picture, right? Like a picture has different size resolutions. You get kind of zeroed in, you can start to see some real intricate details about what's actually happening. But yeah, real wages kind of falling for a lot of people. I'm trying to see if there's anything else we need to talk about. Types of unemployment, not too many people miss that. That's good. I don't think we talked about it that much. Types of unemployment. I'm going to mention it now. So I don't think in this class, I think I did it in my B class, but not here. I don't think we talked about the 3 types of unemployment. This was just in your reading. This was one of those curveball questions. I'm sorry about that at the very end. But it is an important thing, and I threw it in there because I realized that y'all need to know it. And so here it is, okay? So there's 3 types. You get structural, frictional, and cyclical unemployment. You got to know these 3, okay? So, and understand what they are. So structural, cyclical, and frictional. I'll just run them up there real quick. Okay, we're going to talk about it real fast. Structural, cyclical, frictional. Anytime, so I'll break these down. Frictional, anytime you see frictions, what we're talking about is a branch of economics called search and matching. Search and matching, and I think the best way is, I don't know if anyone's been out there and trying to find Mr. or Mrs., right? But it doesn't just happen that you're like, hey, I want to meet the love of my life today. You go, okay, you wake up and then like you open up your door and it's like, boom, there they are, and you run off and have a nice merrily life. It doesn't happen that way, right? You got to go through this search and matching process, right? And it's the same with employment. The reason why we have all these frictions, these search and matching frictions, is because we don't have we don't have completely equal information. Imagine a guy and a girl are dating, okay? Well, there's not equal information that, that, hey, I got all these kind of like weird habits and I'm extremely like bossy and I like to, and I have a hidden, crack habit and I have all these other things, right? No, you don't say that, right? You come out and say, hey, yeah, I'm Mr. Wonderful. She goes, hey, I'm Mrs. Wonderful. And you kind of come together, right? And you start to figure out the realities of things. This is because you don't have equal information. It's the same thing going on in the workforce. Not everyone's like, hey, yeah, guess what? I'm an HR like nightmare. Or hey, I like to do as little as possible Or hey, company-wise, I like to grind my employees to the dirt and have a cutthroat kind of environment. We got a boss who's just like, nobody comes out like this, right? And so you got to go through these interview processes. You got to, it's this process of getting to know each other, in both ways. You're getting to know each other, and because you have to go search and match, and it's also not like you immediately know every opportunity out there just instantly gets your information. It's like, you got to go out there and put it out there. You got to send it out there. It's not like every employer can just tell do you see that there's all these different frictions that get in it's a friction because it's getting in the way of a quick match. And so you can think of all the things that would influence frictions. We can dive into that, but the idea is what a friction is. This is just like a search and matching. You have to go search for employment, get matched. Cyclicals, because you get business cycles happening. Okay, so there's booms and busts in the economy, recessions, hot times. When it's busting, you get cyclical unemployment. Structural is this thing that happens because technology evolves, people's skills become obsolete. So you're a great Microsoft Excel person, and now they have a new database system that comes out there and makes all of those skills kind of obsolete. And so, you have to learn the new database skills or else your skill set's gone. And so there's a structural unemployment that happens because of a mismatch between your skills and what's required, typically driven by technological innovation, which is natural. So naturally, what you have in an economy is you have, for a certain economy, you've got frictional unemployments because of information disparities and that's just very common out there, right? And you also have structural unemployments because technology evolves. That's a normal process. So the natural rate is frictional and structural. This is natural. The natural rate. And we're going to talk about this more in our when we model. But ideally, what the Fed should be targeting as far as unemployment is actually the natural rate of unemployment, not zero unemployment. Just try to not have a bunch of cyclical unemployment. That's the idea. Maybe part of where that. So that's it. All right. Okay, so the rest I think is reading, real investment. Not many people got that wrong. Real interest. Okay, so let's see here. What do we have? We have tomorrow. Is tomorrow we have a project due? That's tonight. Okay, so we have 10 minutes. Okay, or 12 minutes. So let's wrap it up today and get this project questions. Go ahead.
For the lab, all we did for the section.
Yeah, so let me just run through real fast. See if I can do this quick. Let me just see if I can open this up real quick and just run through real fast. I'm not sure if I saved this or not. Okay. So what you're going to do is you have to calculate quarterly. So you have to get the deflator, right? You got the deflator from the last lab. You calculate the percentage change of the deflator to get the growth rate, which is this is this quarterly inflation. And then actually the one tweak you're going to do is you're going to add 1 to that number. That's important. So you're going to take the inflation rate, you're going to add 1 to that number, and you're going to populate this adding 1 to the growth rate across all of your numbers. Reason being is because now we can calculate growth rates between 2 periods. Okay? So if I want to calculate growth rates, not the growth rate, but the total growth that happened between 2 periods, all you have to do is multiply those together. Again, if I wanted to go here's from Q2 of 19. This thing's jumping too far. To Q2 of 2021, and I can use this product function to do that. This thing is just being not nice to me. So see, I can use the product function to multiply Q2 of 19 to Q2 of 2021. And what I did, I'll just show you real quick. I copied the industry names in the new column N. And then what I did is as I put this product function over here on the right. And the key is that after you calculate the product, after you multiply all these together, you actually subtract 1 at the end. Okay, does that make sense? Are we all good on that? We're going to subtract 1, and then you have all these different values that I asked you to put into a summary table. So in the summary table, copy and paste your industry names. And then what I did is I did a lookup function, and this is the easiest way, which is lookup function. You're gonna have inflation over the period, and you're gonna look up the industry. And the table is going to be, in this case, inflation. It'll be from this table. It'll have the names on the left and the rates on the right. That's the table, okay? All the way down to the bottom, the names and the values. And then one thing about once you actually make that function is you want the table from your quarterly inflation, you want this table that you're selecting over here to not move when you're dragging things around. Okay, so does that make sense? Because what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to end up having that equation, and then I'm just going to drag it down. And I don't want that table to also be dragging it down. So in order to make that thing totally happy, I have to encase both of the letters with dollars on the left and right. See, this was table, you'll see tables are defined from their upper leftmost cell to their bottom rightmost cell. So the upper leftmost cell is N8, the bottom rightmost is O107, and I just encase it with dollars, I drag it down. And then I'll show you another real kind of handy trick here, okay? Is I created another column, and I just called it number. And what I did, I think this was blank when I had it, but what I did is I just typed in a 1 and a 2. I highlight the 1 and the 2, and I drag down, and it'll automatically fill everything out numerically in order. And the reason I'm doing that is because the next thing I'm going to do is start sorting values. And I can always sort based now upon this column A and always get back to my original list anytime I want. That's why I did it, okay? Just to show you, I can highlight the table. If I want to find the highest inflation rate, I do a custom sort. I can sort on inflation. I can go smallest to largest or largest to smallest. You see, and I get the lowest inflation over that period. But now my industries are all jumbled up, and say I want to get back. Well, it's easy to get back because now I've made that column. Now I can just do a custom sort on that number and smallest to largest. And I get back to where I started. That's why I did that. See that? Otherwise, once you start sorting, you'll be like, how do I get back? You know. That's all you have to do. And then I ask questions about different types of things. I'll have to look at some of the questions. I think I might be pushing a little bit on but basically you'll have to basically use the sort function in some different ways to try to answer some things. Okay, And also, I'll tell you the other thing, you have to have this number column here, because sometimes I'll ask you for what's going on within a specific industry. So see here, you got manufacturing. The sub-industries are durable goods and non-durable goods. You see that? That's hierarchy. And then within manufacturing durable goods, you have all these different sub-industries. So you see that durable goods had almost no price changes, very low growth. But I could look down and look within this industry and find out some more detail. Like there was, like what would contribute to the negative, you know, that this is slightly negative. What industries? Maybe it's, you see primary metals took a dip, electrical equipment. So I could look at all the different sub-industries that were contributing to the larger industries sign. Does that make sense? The sign of durable goods was slightly negative. What are the industries that were contributing to that result? It's going to be all the ones down here that have negative, all the sub-industries that have negative values, you see. So just helping you to just dig down a little bit. You have to do that kind of, a little bit of that kind of analysis. Does that make sense or no? Yeah, no? Questions about this at all before we got like 4 minutes? Any questions about that? No questions? None? You guys are all good for it? Okay. If you need anything, please come see me today after 3. I'll be here from 3 to 5. You can come see me in my office about that. I will say this, let's do this, okay? Do me a favor on this so we can really get, we've got a pace, we got to catch up on some stuff now because we have this day today. Okay, what I did is I posted on Wolf Den. I want to show you something. This is something that it's an important announcement for everybody here, because this next section is not in your textbook. This is not textbook section. There's a botchery done about this, so I corrected this. PowerPoint slides. Where is this? Did I not open this? Okay, I need to put your PowerPoint slides on here. I will put PowerPoint slides up here that I've created very specifically for this next chapter. You will not find most of the material in this next chapter within your textbook. I'll just tell you that. We're coming into a period of like this. We're going to talk about economic growth. This triad we have here is growth, economic development, how economies are developing, how they're growing. Those are sisters topics, and we have the relationship of that and trade. Okay, so in my opinion, all these textbooks are just doing a horrible job of really bringing this out. And there's topics that are just completely missed that are fundamental. And so I'm going to rely heavily on my slides in this next section. And I want everyone to read those and get through those. Okay, so I'll post these today. Your assignment is to read those so that we can have a smooth class next class. We'll be hitting you with a bunch of new stuff. Okay, go ahead. I'll open it back up and then maybe give, I don't want it to track. So the thing, I'll probably have it open this, probably close it next weekend or something, like next Sunday. But I don't want to pressure you to get that done right now. I'd like you to polish that up, but you know, we have a major section here. I put 2 weeks aside for. I've developed like a whole course material for, because there's been some major changes in just thinking on these topics. And we've had, even in the US, we've had a huge evolution. You know, we were promoting free trade around the world as that was like the model. And now we're engaged in trade wars. We have other things going on, and there's sort of, there's an awakening to some countervailing factors that we're going to discuss. Okay, so there's things there's things that are completely missing from your textbook that are currently at the forefront of policy discussion. And so I'm going to try to at least, that's what those slides are for, is to help show you, by the end of it, you should see definitely what's the Chinese model, how the Chinese develop, what's been the US model, why do we have hollowing out in the US, what might be the effects of like the hollowing out of manufacturing, you know, what brought us into the modern age, how do we get here from the cave, what were the big events that happened, you know, how do those unfold? What are the things that contribute towards innovation to technology? How can we think about technology? All those are in the slides, okay? And we'll talk about it in detail. So do me a favor, there's videos in there. I'll probably play some of those in class, little 5-minute clips. But if you want to watch them, just would push our discussions. So I'd like our discussions to be lively next class. All right. Okay, if there's nothing else, I guess that's it. I'll see you Thursday.